So this video is going to look into the very possible reality that Hamas is nothing more than an Israeli Zionist-run creation controlled opposition group operating within Palestine in order to create the excuse to attack the Palestinians. There's quite a few things that make me believe that is the case now. I think by the end of the video, you'll realize that is most likely the case. This video also will look into Israel's excuse for attacking Palestine, another one, which is their Iron Dome system, which they claim is intercepting missiles left and right. But the more you look at it, the more it appears it's just a fireworks system, an advanced fireworks system with missiles that turn and explode and don't actually intercept anything. Okay, so starting it off right away here into Hamas. What makes me extremely suspicious about Hamas? There's a number of things. The first thing is that they almost always are wearing masks. It's one of the only military groups in the whole world who appear to be wearing masks almost all of the time. The only people who don't wear masks, for some strange reason, are their top leadership. Um, their top leadership, of course, keep getting shipped off to Israeli hospitals for some strange reason, even though they're allegedly sworn enemies of Israel. I'll get into that a little bit more in a second. So, looking at the uniforms that Hamas wears, of course, it's the obligatory balaclava mask, so nobody can see your actual face. And then there appear to be uh, a kind of a mercenary group of people from different places. And here we see an African. What an African is doing in Palestine makes you wonder. There are some African Jewish people from Ethiopia, but it seems to be a different case. The uniforms are very nice uniforms for a country that's been under economic siege, economic boycott for so long. They have some 511 tactical gear, very expensive. The uniforms themselves are spick and span, very new looking. There's tons of them. They're all wearing the same boots. Um, they all, of course, have their green flags that appear to be supplied, and they're using AK-47s almost exclusively, but there's other firearms as well. The huge number of uniforms that are very nice and very new, combined with constant wearing of masks, it should be a red flag to people that something is going on here that's just not some ragtag group of freedom fighters from one of the most besieged areas in the entire world. Somehow they're able to get all of these uniforms, very nice 511 tactical gear, and they're extremely coordinated. Um, it doesn't work that way. Another interesting thing I noticed when watching a recent propaganda video was that they had Hebrew writing on the side of one of their parades they're doing on a side of a missile carrying vehicle. Um, why would they have Hebrew writing on the side of this? Just asking this question. Why, unless they're just saying in their sworn enemies language, like, yo, we're gonna get you. No, I just I don't buy that they would have any Hebrew writing on their equipment. This is extremely weird. Of course, in the same shot, we have a man who's wearing what appears to be U.S. issued Gulf War fatigues, walking alongside. I guess you could say that, they're getting this stuff because it's the remnants of the Gulf War. It's one way of looking at it. There are a few of these men that wear this exact same Gulf War style U.S. issued fatigues walking around with Hamas. Okay, so that, to me, there's a few things that are kind of standing out here that say, this group does not look like an ordinary ragtag group of alleged terrorist freedom fighters from Palestine. So the more I looked into it, the more I realized everything they're doing is actually benefiting Israel. And get this, Hamas in the last few years has now mandated that everyone learn Hebrew. Okay? The enemy's language, suddenly they mandated that everyone needs to learn Hebrew. Um, Anybody else have a problem with this? This is just Israel asserting their authority and dominance over this group of people and forcing them to learn their language. Hamas is run by Israel, so it's no surprise that they would have everybody learning Hebrew. You can't just say it's because we want to know our enemy's language so we can destroy them better. No, you just have a few people learn the language. In that case, you wouldn't have everybody learning Hebrew. And then we look into the relatives of the one of the top Hamas people, and he's had his sister go to Israel for cancer treatment, and his brother went to Israel for heart surgery.
A daughter of the leader of Hamas in Gaza was admitted to an Israeli hospital for emergency medical treatment this month after she suffered complications from a routine procedure, two sources familiar with the case said. Ismail Hania's daughter's week-long admission to a hospital in Tel Aviv, which Israeli and Palestinian officials declined to confirm or deny, shows humanitarian coordination between the sides continues just weeks after the Gaza war ended. Hania, who has 13 children, is the leader of the Islamist group in Gaza and one of its most senior figures overall, serving as a deputy to Khalid Mashal, who lives in exile.
This report failed to mention where Khalid Mashal is living in exile, and that happens to be none other than U.S. stronghold Qatar in Doha, one of the largest military bases for the United States and Israel outside of Israel. How interesting. So, why would Israel be helping a top terrorist leader's family? Can somebody answer this? Unless Israel, in fact, was not in cohorts with this guy. It's obvious that they have a deal. Whenever any of the top Hamas leadership gets sick or whatever, they get treated in Israel. This is not unlike how a number of ISIS characters were seen being treated in Israeli hospitals. ISIS is just another example of an Israeli Zionist created group that's there to create tumult in the region around Israel. So Israel has the excuse to continue their expansionist policies and take over land. It appears the Hamas group was created to supplant the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or PLO, who was too well organized and wasn't acting crazy enough to give the excuse to just go and level Palestinian territory. The PLO took different tactics than Hamas, and now Hamas's tactics they say crazy things such as we're gonna wipe Israel off the map, other things such as that are just completely over the top and make the whole world hate them. And then Israel seems justified when they go and viciously attack Palestinian territory, in many cases leveling entire residential blocks to the ground into rubble. When you actually look at the Qassam missiles that Hamas is allegedly firing into Israel, they are kind of a joke. Most of them don't seem to explode. And when you look at the actual footage of Qassam rockets being intercepted by Iron Dome, the weird thing is there doesn't appear to be any of it at all. It's as if these Qassam rockets don't even fly into Israeli territory, and Israel is just shooting up Iron Dome fireworks, having them explode, and telling their population they're under constant attack. Wouldn't it be funny if, in fact, there were no Qassam rockets flying into Israeli territory, and Iron Dome was just there to scare the Israeli population into thinking they were under constant attack? Because that's exactly what it appears to be to me. after looking into this for several years now. I haven't seen any verifiable proof that Qassam rockets are being intercepted in any way, shape, or form over Israeli territory. Might there be some small Qassam rockets that actually make it into Israeli territory and land harmlessly in the countryside? Maybe. While there appears to be no footage of Qassam rockets being intercepted by Iron Dome, amazingly, this news reporter apparently has such good eyesight that she actually sees one of these rockets being intercepted. Unfortunately, we just have to watch her reaction and the reaction of another man pointing up as proof that a Qassam rocket is being intercepted in this clip. Here it is.
Minutes ago, we watched again the Iron Dome system in action. The air siren did not go on. It's going on now, so we're just going to duck a little bit. The air siren is now. Usually, there's about 10 to 15 seconds. We can hear the noise. I cannot see it, but what we can see is a trail of rockets in the sky. We're not really sure where it's heading. It's above our head, actually. We can see it. It's all I can tell you, and it's just been intercepted by the Iron Dome. You can probably hear the explosions. We should be fine. Whoa, there's another one there. You probably can see it. Three. That actually, we don't know whether they're being intercepted or not.
Because there really is no risk of being hit by rockets. It's just made up so they can attack Palestinians. Furthermore, if you look at the design and alleged specifications of a Qassam rocket, these things are not very accurate. They just kind of, supposedly, they burn up their fuel source and just float into Israel, which makes them allegedly invisible, without having superheated metal that would glow after the fact, or any sort of smoke still emanating out of the back of the rocket from the depleted fuel source. They just turn invisible, essentially. And the interesting thing is, after flying however many miles, these crude rockets somehow stay clustered in such a manner that when Iron Dome is intercepting them, all the Iron Dome ordnance explode in a very confined spot that would indicate that Qassam rockets were in fact focused very well and were not as spread out or haphazard as we are told they are. But of course, that's what they are. Qassam rockets are supposed to be essentially a bottle rocket with a big warhead on it that explodes. So why is it in the images of Iron Dome, Qassam rockets are always attacked in such a small geographical spot above the Iron Dome interceptors? It doesn't make any sense. It should be way more spread out. It shouldn't be so focused in one area. And of course, we never see any of these alleged Qassam rockets. So then we take a look into who the leadership of Hamas is made up of. Who are these people? Of course, we see the relatives of the top leadership in Hamas going to Israel all the time for medical care and other reasons. But then we find out that the son of the main top Hamas leader turned out to be one of the top Israeli spies in the entire world. And now he goes around talking about how terrible Hamas is and says that there shouldn't be a Palestinian state. Okay, a top Israeli spy saying that there shouldn't be any Palestinian state, Hamas is a terrible group, and Israel is justified in attacking Palestine.
In fact, I'm afraid that the Palestinian state will bring destruction to the Palestinian people and will cause them more sufferings.
I'm afraid a Palestinian state will bring destruction to the Palestinian people. Does this sound like somebody who is involved in Hamas, or does this sound like an Israeli? Somebody who's completely pro-Israel, because he is an Israeli spy and his dad runs Hamas, just like all these other sketchy characters around Hamas who constantly get shipped off to Israel. He sounds like a top IDF general more than he sounds like a Palestinian.